graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, here's Chris with another Stranger vlog, I guess. I don't know what I'm going to do with this video, but I just finished watching HBO's Watchmen pilot episode. Literally just watched it, streamed it off an illegal out-of-country site because I'm not going to pay for HBO or HBO Go. But let's see. I am a fan of the Watchmen comic. That being said, I've been following the other Watchmen sequel, which is the Doomsday Clock story that's going on in DC right now, which is on issue 11 of a 12-issue run. I've picked up a couple of the Before Watchmen's. I've got them from the library, the collected editions, and I started reading them and just never got into them. So with that being said, once again, with stuff being outside of the Watchmen, this, very much like another DC property, is something that doesn't need to exist. Alan Moore, the brilliant Alan Moore, who wrote the original Watchmen comic, basically wrote it to be a deconstruction of comic tropes, a deconstruction of comic heroes and identities, and to sequelize that story, or even prequelize with the Before Watchmen comics, totally defeats the purpose. The Watchmen is supposed to be a standalone thing that exists on its own, and it's supposed to be its own work of art, and to add to it kind of dilutes the product. But then again, for those of you who know your comic history, Alan Moore, much after the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen came out, he pretty much wrote off. He was always kind of ornery, and people didn't like him, and he didn't like what people did with his work. But I think after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he was like, "That's it. I will no longer ever be involved with anything any project that I had done that's going to be transferred to another medium, i.e., V for Vendetta, or the Zack Snyder version of the Watchmen movie, which changed the ending, which, once again, it defeats the purpose of what Alan Moore wanted. But he's pretty much written off any other iteration outside of his original vision from the comic. So very much like the Joker movie that just came out, who coincidentally, the one person who also tackled the Joker origin story was Alan Moore and his One Bad Day storyline, which the Joker plays a character that has a series of bad events in his life and eventually turns a normal everyday loser to the Joker. So once again, Alan Moore, the genius Alan Moore, has touched this stuff and has given us beautiful, wonderful works of art, are being destroyed by other people. The showrunner for this show, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Damon Lindelof. I like Damon Lindelof. I like him. I actually like the show Lost. Watched the whole show twice or 3 times already. I like the ending of Lost, as opposed to what other people think about that show. But I don't know where he's going with this. Now, of course, this is the pilot of the show. And every pilot, that's the whole job. That's how they get made. That's how these pilots get greenlit into series, is they give you a great fucking pilot. And this was a very interesting pilot. It had, obviously, nods to the original Watchmen. In this world, once again, this is a post-Watchmen world. They're sort of having like a true Hollywood story thing written about the Watchmen, but it seems to be like it's like propaganda. It's probably stuff that, obviously this is all fiction, but even the stuff it's probably going to gloss over some of the more darker times in the Watchmen history. There's nods to Rorschach. with Rorschach being a fucking unbalanced individual. In this world, it's sort of patriots. I'm using a lot of air quotes in this video, but patriots using the discoverings of Rorschach to be using patriotism for the world of bigotry, which sounds very, in a post 9/11 world and everything like that, and a Donald Trump's America, people using patriotism as a reason for bigotry. So let me see what other once again this pilot gives us a lot of stuff to worry about. It's raining squid monsters, baby squid monsters, I guess, and this once again follows the Alan Moore comic where it's a giant squid monster that lands in New York City. For whatever reason, the show takes place in Oklahoma. I don't know if it's supposed to be that, Oklahoma is supposed to represent the heartland when so much of the Watchmen took place in New York City and Washington, D.C., and in the North Pole. I guess this is maybe showing like how middle America has been handled. Obviously, there's a big racial overtone with the Rorschachs being, white supremacists, and then the main character of the story, Regina King, being a black woman who was the granddaughter or great-granddaughter to this hero they allude to, another black hero, which I think it's supposed to be where this person was a hero at one point, and after all their heroic duties, made a movie, and the movie was sort of like, so it's also like our relation to heroes in the media versus the true stories of the heroes. And she's supposed to be the great granddaughter, so she's carrying on the legacy of as a cop who got shot, and in this universe, cops wear masks because people have found out where cops live and they were killing their families and so on and so forth. But she becomes like a vigilante where she wears a hood and she has like a whole religious motif to her. Once again, I think that's more just her persona than she doesn't actually like quote scripture or anything like that. I like Regina King. I was a fan of hers from back in the day. Like, I don't know if it was her first gig, but I remember her doing a show called 227, where she played the daughter of Marla Gibbs, and that was like a wholesome, family show. And up until she was doing the voice of the brothers of the Boondocks cartoon, the controversial Boondocks cartoon, which once again, I'm glad that she's working, and I'm glad that she got the lead in the show, and I like her. I just don't. It's not her that I have a problem with. I have a problem with with Damon Lindelof giving us all this stuff to promise. And once again, I don't feel that the Watchmen. I don't think this is a story that needs to be touched. The sequel, fucking awesome. Pardon my French. Is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. For those of you at all who follow Nine Inch Nails for the past 10 years has been Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. As in the main composers, when they tour, they bring other people with them. But I've loved the past 10 years of Nine Inch Nails. It's become this very industrial, ambient, sort of a weird thing going on, and they've done the Social Network soundtrack, and they've done, the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo soundtrack. Pretty much anything David Fincher in the past 10 years they've been doing the soundtrack for. They did like a Vietnam documentary soundtrack, which is weird. How does Nine Inch Nails get put into that? I mean, even if you're a fan of Old Town Road by Lil Nas X, that was from Atticus Ross, Trent Reznor song that got converted into that. So the soundtrack kicks ass. It's funny, once again, if you follow Nine Inch Nails, that there is some saxophone in the soundtrack, because Trent Reznor has gotten, I guess at one point when he was younger, he played the saxophone, and he's starting to wedge in the saxophone into his music again. So he's trying to reinvent himself, or add in elements from his past. So I'm not going to hate him on that, but it was kind of funny to hear saxophone in the soundtrack. As for the Doomsday Clock tie-in, there is no Doomsday Clock tie-in, but I've been following it. I'll be honest with you, we're on issue 11. I've read up to issue 10. Issue 11 I bought and I put to the side, and I said I'll get to it, but I have no idea what the fuck's going on in that series. I want to enjoy it, but it's we're one episode left or one issue left in the run, and unless they do some incredible gymnastics, I don't think I'm going to end up liking that either. And I want to like it. Trust me, I want to like watching stuff. I love the Zack Snyder movie besides the ending. Zack Snyder, for all the guff we give him when it comes to 300 and Watchmen, for him to do relatively faithful renditions of movies where, like, the comic is almost used as a board, pre-visualization board, was pretty fucking awesome. So when it came to Zack Snyder's Watchmen, I love it. I haven't seen the ultimate director's cut with all the Black Freighter footage mixed in either, but I've seen the Black Freighter footage side, on one point. Then I have the movie on DVD and I've watched it a bunch of times. So let me see, anything else? Once again, I think this pilot is giving us so much promise, and I would like for it to go on, but I don't think this is going to be the next Game of Thrones. Help me, God help me if I'm wrong, or if you want to rub this in my face 7 years from now when people actually give more shit about the Watchmen. But I guess we'll enjoy it while it lasts. I like the world that it's giving us. It's very interesting, but I don't know how long you can maintain it for a property that was supposed to be a one unit by itself without being meant to be sequelized or prequelized or anything like that. So those are my views for now. This is Chris Cologne with Two Strangers One Podcast and another Stranger Vlog saying, don't be a stranger.